The rain hammered against my roof as if it carried a personal vendetta. It was the kind of storm that makes you want to crawl back under the covers and forget the world exists. I was stretched out on my couch in Crestview, Colorado, wearing my favorite faded Broncos hoodie, scrolling through design gigs on my laptop when a sharp knock sliced through the thunder. My name's Jenna Perez, a freelance graphic designer who thought she'd left the drama behind in Denver. But that night, drama came looking for me. I shuffled to the door, half expecting a neighbor desperate for sugar or a lost delivery driver. Instead, I opened it to find a baby carrier, drenched and abandoned on my porch like a forgotten package. Inside lay a tiny bundle swaddled in a pink blanket, her dark eyes fixed on me. Silent, steady, as if she were already sizing me up. My heart stopped. "Hello," I shouted into the storm, but the only reply was the screech of tires peeling away down the street. A soggy note was tucked into the carrier, flapping wildly in the wind. My hands trembled as I snatched it up and read the words scrawled in my sister Claire's jagged handwriting. "I can't do this. She's yours now, Jenna." Claire, my older sister, had always been a whirlwind of chaos. Parties, toxic boyfriends, a talent for vanishing when life got hard. Growing up in Denver, our parents were obsessed with their country club image, desperate to protect the facade of a perfect family. Claire was the rebel, always in trouble, while I was the quiet one sketching in my room, trying to stay invisible. I had fled to Crestview to escape their judgment, their coldness, and Claire's endless messes. Yet here was her baby, left in the rain like a stray. I carried the soaked bundle inside, my tiny living room shrinking around me with every breath. The baby didn't cry, which unnerved me more than if she had. She just stared, as if she already knew I was out of my depth. "Okay, Jenna, think," I muttered, pacing past my cluttered desk and wilting houseplants. I didn't even know Claire was pregnant. She hadn't called in months. Hospitals? The police? Our parents? The thought of calling them made my stomach twist. They had disowned Claire when her addiction got bad, and they'd always treated me as a disappointment for choosing a bohemian life over their high society expectations. I dialed my mom anyway, my fingers clumsy on the screen. She answered, her voice sharp. "Do you know how late it is?" "Mom, Claire left her baby on my doorstep. There's just a note. I don't know what to do." Silence. Then, "Well, Jenna, I suppose she's your responsibility now." "What? Mom, I can't—" "Your sister made her choice," she cut in, cold as ever. "We can't have this scandal getting out. Handle it quietly. Put Dad on." "He's asleep. Don't raise your voice at me, Jenna. This is why Claire couldn't trust you to handle things properly. Be discreet." Click. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at the baby, who let out a tiny snuffle as if reminding me she was still there. "Just us, huh?" I whispered, my voice wobbling. I was 25, barely keeping my freelance gigs afloat. And now, I had a kid. Panic clawed at me, but those eyes, those wide, unblinking, trusting eyes, kept me moving. I pulled up a YouTube video on newborn care, grabbed my keys, and bolted to the 24-hour pharmacy for diapers and formula, leaving her alone for 12 agonizing minutes. The whole time I pictured her waking up crying, terrified, with no one there. When I got back, she was still asleep. Relief hit so hard I sank to the floor, shaking, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. The next morning, I called in sick to my part-time retail job. My boss wasn't having it. "Family emergency doesn't cut it after probation," she snapped. I lost the job a week later. My savings evaporated fast. Bottles, clothes, a second-hand crib. The only clue I had was a half-filled birth certificate application tucked in the carrier, marking December 21st as her birthday. The winter solstice? Hope in the darkest time. So I named her Leah, my little light. That first week during a bleary 3 a.m. feeding, I whispered to her, "I have no clue what I'm doing, but we'll get through this together." I didn't know it then, but that promise would shape the next decade of my life. And the fight I never saw coming. 10 years blurred past in a whirlwind of sippy cups, school plays, and late-night design deadlines. Leah grew from that silent bundle into a spitfire of a kid. Gangly legs, paint-smudged hands, a laugh bright enough to fill our cramped Crestview house. I traded my Denver ambitions for small-town survival, freelancing from a cluttered home office so I could be there for her first steps, her first words, her first soccer goal. Every crayon drawing taped to the fridge, every bedtime story on our sagging couch felt like a hard-won victory. I wasn't just raising Leah, she was saving me, giving me a purpose I'd never found in my parents' world of polished surfaces and hollow promises. One afternoon, while I was tweaking a logo for a client, a sharp knock rattled my door. Leah was at her friend Mia's for a sleepover, and I wasn't expecting anyone. Something about that knock, too loud, too insistent, made my stomach twist. I opened the door, and it felt like stepping into a bad dream. Claire stood there, my sister, looking as though she'd just stepped off a magazine cover. Designer coat, flawless makeup, not a hair out of place. Flanking her were our parents. My mom wearing her familiar scowl, my dad staring at his shoes. Behind them, a man in a slick suit clutched a briefcase like a weapon. "Hey, Jenna," Claire said, her smile all teeth, no warmth. "We need to talk about my daughter." The world tilted. I gripped the doorframe, forcing my voice steady. "Your daughter? You mean the one you left on my porch in a storm 10 years ago?" Claire's eyes shimmered with tears that looked rehearsed. "I was sick then, Jenna. I've changed. I'm sober, successful. I want her back." The man in the suit stepped forward. "Miss Perez, I'm Richard Langston, an attorney. We're here to discuss custody arrangements for Aaliyah." Custody. The word punched the air out of me, but underneath the shock, something primal surged. A mama bear instinct forged over a decade of love. "You're not coming in," I said, blocking the doorway. "And you're not discussing custody of my daughter." "Our daughter," Claire corrected, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Let's be civil, Jenna." "Civil?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "Like abandoning a newborn in the rain is civil?" My mom stepped forward, her pearl necklace gleaming. "Jenna, stop being dramatic. Your sister's trying to make things right." "After 10 years? Try again." I pulled out my phone and dialed Christopher Caldwell, my best friend from college and a damn good lawyer. Minutes later, his blue pickup rumbled into the driveway. He strode up, calm confidence radiating. "Perfect timing," Langston said, his smile tight. "I was about to present custody filing papers." "Then present them to me," Christopher replied, stepping to my side. "I'm Miss Perez's attorney." "You knew this was coming," my dad muttered, finally lifting his eyes. "No," I snapped. "I just learned not to trust any of you." We ended up in my living room. Christopher insisted it would look cooperative. He sat beside me on the couch while Claire, my parents, and Langston perched stiffly on chairs usually covered in Leah's art supplies. Langston spread papers across my coffee table. "My client has been sober for 3 years, has a stable home, and a thriving career," he announced. "She's ready to parent." I stared at Claire. "You were using when you had her." Claire dabbed her eyes with a fancy handkerchief. "I was in a dark place, but I'm better now. I can give Leah everything she deserves." "Everything she deserves?" My voice trembled. "She deserves a mom who didn't ditch her. She deserves grandparents who didn't call her a scandal. She's got straight A's, plays soccer, loves painting." "Did you know any of that?" "No. Because you've been gone her whole life. We tried to be involved, my mom snapped. You pushed us away. Christopher raised a hand. Let's stick to the facts. You're claiming Jenna alienated Leah from her family. That's a vague accusation. We have proof, Langston countered, pulling out more papers. Refused calls? Ignored invitations? Funny, I said, standing. I crossed to my desk, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a thick folder. I've got evidence too. Every voicemail, every text, every email. I slammed it on the table. Every time you ignored her. Every time you called her a problem. Claire's polished mask cracked, her face flickering with something. Fear, maybe. Christopher flipped through Langston's stack. They're requesting full custody, Jenna, with supervised visits for you. Like hell, I said, my voice low and deadly. Get out, all of you. Christopher handles this now. You can't keep her from me, Claire shouted, rising to her feet. She's my blood. Blood? I pointed to Leah's paintings plastered across the wall. Where was blood when she had a fever at 2 and I stayed up all night? Where was blood for every scraped knee, every school play? You don't get to waltz in now. Langston smirked. We're prepared to go public. The press loves a mother fighting for her stolen child. Stolen? Something inside me snapped. I've got the note, Claire. Want me to show that to the press? My mom grabbed Claire's arm, her glare sharp. This isn't over, Jenna. You've always been selfish. They left, Langston's briefcase swinging like a threat. Christopher stayed, his face grim. They're playing dirty. You ready for this? I pulled a USB drive from my desk. 10 years of documented neglect stored inside. They have no idea how ready I am. The next few weeks blurred into late nights and whispered fears. I'd tuck Leah into bed, her galaxy pajamas glowing under the lamp, and she'd ask, Mom, is everything okay? I'd smile, brush her hair back, and whisper, I'm handling it, kiddo. But inside, I was terrified. Claire and my parents weren't just fighting for Leah, they were fighting for the trust fund my grandmother had left for Claire's firstborn, a fortune they could control only if Leah ended up in their custody. $2 million, set aside until Leah turned 18. If she stayed with me, they got nothing. If they won custody, they became trustees. This wasn't about love. It was about money. Christopher set up shop in his cozy Crestview office, papers and coffee cups stacked like barricades. Marcus Tate, the private investigator he'd pulled in, was a godsend. A gruff ex-corporate guy who'd traded boardrooms for digging up dirt. Your sister's been busy, Marcus said one morning, dropping a stack of glossy photos onto Christopher's desk. The images told a damning story. Claire at Denver galas, yacht parties, exclusive clubs. The timestamps covered all 10 years I'd been raising Leah. Claire didn't look sick or struggling. She looked radiant, carefree, unburdened by the daughter she'd abandoned. There's more, Marcus added, sliding a legal document across the desk. My grandmother's will. The clause was unmistakable. The trust fund belonged to Claire's child, if raised within the Bennett family. My hands shook as I read it. So this is why, I whispered. Marcus smirked. It gets better. I tracked down Derek Voss. He's ready to talk. Says he's sick of Claire and your parents' games. Set it up, I said. I want everything. That night, Leah came home from Mia's with a storm on her face. Mom, she said quietly. Mia's mom asked me something weird when she dropped me off. My heart clenched. What did she say? She asked if I was okay, if I wanted to talk about my real mom. Leah's lip trembled. You're my real mom, right? I pulled her close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. Always, baby. No matter what anyone says. She leaned back, eyes searching mine. How do you know about Claire? My throat tightened. What do you mean? I heard Grandma on the phone once. She said you stole me. Tears pooled in her eyes. That's not true, right? No, I said firmly. You were given to me. The best gift I ever got. I wiped her cheeks dry. Some people are trying to stir up trouble, but I'm fixing it. I promise. She nodded slowly, then pulled a crumpled drawing from her backpack. A picture of us holding hands inside a giant red heart. Best mom ever was written in her careful script. It's for the fridge, she said. I pinned it up, my throat burning. The next day, Marcus arranged a meeting with Derek at a coffee shop just outside Crestview. Marcus sat a few tables away, a recorder hidden in his jacket. Derek, mid-30s and polished, fidgeted with his cup, his nerves showing. Claire doesn't know I'm here, he said quietly. This custody thing? It wasn't her idea. Your parents pushed it after they dug up the trust fund clause. They promised to pay for our wedding if she went along. I leaned forward, my voice steady but cold. They told me it was about family. He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. It's about money. It always is with them. They're painting you as unstable, saying you took advantage of Claire's addiction to steal Leah. Addiction? My voice sharpened. Was she using when she was pregnant? Yeah, he admitted. She only got clean 3 years ago when we met. But this trust fund, $2 million. They want it bad. My phone buzzed. A text from Leah. Mom, can you come get me? She was at my parents' house for a court-mandated visit. I've got to go, I said, pushing back from the table. Will you testify? Derek nodded. Leah deserves better than being their pawn. I sped to my parents' Denver mansion, my pulse hammering in my throat. Leah sat on the front steps, knees hugged to her chest. What happened? I asked, rushing to her. I found something, she whispered. From inside, I heard my mom yelling, probably at Claire. Leah pulled a photo from her backpack. It showed my parents, Claire, and a crowd of relatives at some glossy Christmas party. Everyone smiling. Leah was nowhere in sight. There are no pictures of me in their house, she said, her voice breaking. And Claire kept calling me sweetheart, but she didn't even know I hate vanilla ice cream. You'd think a real mom would know. I knelt in front of her, holding her shoulders. Listen to me. Sometimes the people who should love us don't know how. That's on them, not you. Back home, our neighbor Mara Evans knocked, her jaw set. I saw Claire on the news, claiming you stole her kid. I was there that night, Jenna. I saw her leave that baby on your porch and drive off in her fancy car. She didn't even check if you were home. My heart kicked. You tell a court that. I've already called Christopher. I'm meeting him tomorrow. She squeezed my hand. Leah belongs with you. Later, Marcus sent more evidence. Photos of Claire meeting with private school heads and financial advisors, sketching out Leah's future with money she didn't have. Then Gloria Ruiz, my parents' former housekeeper, showed up clutching a battered envelope. Inside were photos and copies of their custody plan, drafted months before they ever knocked on my door. They fired me for knowing too much, Gloria said, her voice trembling with anger. They called you a pretend mom. I won't let them do this. That night, I stood in the kitchen staring at Leah's drawing on the fridge, 2 stick figures holding hands inside a red heart. They wanted to cast me as the villain. Fine. I'd show them what a real villain looked like. The courtroom in Crestview's county courthouse felt like a cage. Polished wood, stale air, every creak of the benches echoing like judgment. I stood beside Christopher, palms slick with sweat, as Claire, my parents, and Langston swept in like they owned the place. Claire wore a modest dress, all soft colors and downcast eyes, playing the part of the repentant mother. My parents sat ramrod straight, dripping false respectability. But I wasn't the terrified 25-year-old they'd abandoned a decade ago. I was Leah's mom, And I had 10 years of love, proof, and grit behind me. All rise, the bailiff called, the Honorable Judge Helen Carter presiding. My chest tightened. Carter, the judge Marcus had once photographed having lunch with Claire. For weeks, I'd feared the deck was stacked against me. But when she took her seat on the bench, her gaze was sharp, uncompromising. "Before we proceed," she said, her voice slicing through the room, "I need to address an issue. Mr. Langston, were you aware your client met with me last week?" Langston paled. "Your Honor, She cut him off, holding up glossy photos. Marcus's photos. "These were delivered to the Ethics Board yesterday, along with matching financial records. That matter will be addressed separately. For now, we proceed with the evidence at hand." Christopher rose, calm but fierce. "Your Honor, we submit 10 years of documentation establishing my client as Leah's sole caregiver." He began with Claire's own note. "I can't do this. She's yours now, Jenna." Next came the voicemails from that first desperate month. Claire's voice echoed through the hushed courtroom. "Just take her for a month, Jenna. I'll send money, I swear." Another, brittle and defeated. "You're better at this than me. She's better off with you." A text from my mother appeared on the screen. "Keep this quiet. We have a charity gala. Handle it discreetly." With every piece, their masks cracked. Claire's painted sorrow curdled into panic. My mother's lips thinned, her pearls trembling against her throat. Christopher called Gloria Ruiz to the stand. The former housekeeper walked tall, clutching a folder of evidence. She told the court how she'd discovered documents in my father's study, outlines of custody strategies, financial projections tied to Leah's trust fund. Mrs. Bennett said, and I quote, "Jenna's had her fun playing mommy," Gloria testified. "They wanted Leah raised as a proper Bennett." The gallery stirred. My parents froze. Then Mara Evans took the stand. My neighbor's voice was steady as stone. "I saw Claire leave that baby on Jenna's porch in the rain," Mara said firmly. "She didn't knock. She didn't wait. She just drove off." Langston shot to his feet. "Objection. Character assassination." "No," I said, rising despite Christopher's warning glance. "This is the truth." Judge Carter nodded. "Continue, Miss Perez." I pulled out my phone and tapped play. Marcus's recording of Derek's voice filled the courtroom. "Once we get the kid, we access the trust fund, pay my debts. Who cares if she stays with her mom and dad?" A collective gasp rippled through the gallery. Claire's mascara streaked as she leaned into Langston, whispering frantically. My mother looked as if someone had slapped her. My father couldn't meet my eyes. "Your Honor," Christopher said smoothly, "we also have documentation of Claire's gambling debts, unpaid loans, and repeated attempts to tap the trust fund prior to this suit. This case was never about family. It was about exploiting a child's inheritance." "That's not true." Claire stood, tears streaming. "I love my daughter. I've changed." I turned to her, my voice breaking but steady. "What's her favorite color? What's she allergic to? What sport does she play? Who's her best friend?" Claire's mouth opened, then closed again, helpless. "Purple," I said, tears stinging my eyes. "She's allergic to strawberries. She plays soccer. Dreams of being a goalie. Her best friend is Mia. They've been inseparable since kindergarten. She loves painting but hates loud noises. You'd know all that if you'd been here." The silence was deafening. Judge Carter's voice was quiet but unyielding. "I've heard enough." She shuffled her papers, then fixed my family with a glare sharp enough to cut glass. "In 30 years, I've rarely seen such a shameless attempt to manipulate a child and this court. The custody suit is dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full investigation into the trust fund scheme. Mr. Langston, you'll contact the Bar Association before they contact you. And as for the Bennetts..." She leaned forward, her gavel poised. There will be a temporary restraining order. No contact with Jenna Perez or Leah without legal channels. Relief coursed through me, but I kept my spine straight. My mother lurched to her feet. You can't do this. We're her family. No, I said quietly, meeting her eyes. You're just people who share our DNA. That's not the same thing. The gavel struck. Court adjourned. In the hallway, Claire made one last attempt. Jenna, please. I'm your sister. I shook my head. You stopped being my sister the night you left Leah in the rain. Christopher's hand was steady on my shoulder as we walked out together. On the courthouse steps, I inhaled deeply. The Colorado air was crisp, biting, free. It's over, Christopher said. No. I thought of Leah, probably doodling to calm her nerves, waiting for me at home. It's just beginning, but this time, we're writing the story. Leah was on the porch when I pulled into the driveway, Mia and her mom, Carla, beside her. Before I could park, Leah came running, eyes wide. Did you mean it? Is it really over? I swept her into my arms, her warmth grounding me. It's over, baby. They can't take you away. Carla wiped her eyes and smiled. We've got celebration cookies in the oven, chocolate chip, Leah's specialty. Inside, the kitchen smelled like sugar and victory. Leah and Mia chattered, giggling as they stole bits of cookie dough when they thought I wasn't looking. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself laugh with them. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Denver custody case exposes trust fund plot. My parents' perfect reputation was unraveling. Socialites didn't recover easily from headlines like that. Christopher called soon after with updates. The ethics board was investigating Claire's lunch with Judge Carter. Langston had resigned from his firm in disgrace. The trust fund was frozen, secured under an independent trustee. Your parents are selling their Denver place, Christopher added, moving to Florida. Running, I corrected. It's what they do. A crash from the kitchen jolted me back. Leah stood beside a broken glass, her phone trembling in her hand, face pale. What's wrong? I asked, hurrying over. She handed me the phone. A text from Claire glowed on the screen. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but you deserve to hear it. Do you want to reply? I asked gently. Leah shook her head, reaching for the broom. She's right. It doesn't fix anything. That night, after Mia and Carla left, Leah sat at the kitchen table, her expression serious, the same determined look she wore before a big soccer game. Mom, I want to ask you something. Anything, I said, sliding into the chair across from her. She pulled a folder from her backpack, legal forms neatly printed from the school library. I want to change my name. I don't want to be a Bennett. I want to be Leah Perez, like you. My heart stopped. That's a big decision, kiddo. I've been thinking about it for months, even before they showed up. You chose me. I want to choose you back. All the way. I stared at the forms, remembering the nights I'd hovered over adoption papers but never signed them, afraid of pushing too far, of crossing some invisible line. You sure? I whispered. More sure than I've ever been, she said, grinning. Plus, it'll really bug Grandma. I laughed through sudden tears. That's not a reason to do it. No, she smirked, but it's a fun bonus. We filled out the paperwork together, the kitchen warm with talk of her latest art project, Mia's soccer tryouts, and her plans for the school talent show. Hey, Mom, Leah murmured as I tucked her into bed later. Thanks for fighting for me. Always, baby, no matter what. I know, she yawned. That's why you're my real mom. You stayed. After she drifted off, I sat in the quiet living room, flipping through photo albums. Her first soccer goal, her first painting, her first shaky ride on a bike. Every milestone we'd built together, every choice stitched into our little life. My phone lit up again. Another text from Claire. I know you'll never forgive me, but thank you for giving her what I couldn't. For a moment I thought of replying, then I blocked her number. Words couldn't rewrite a decade of absence. I opened my laptop instead, pulling up the adoption petition I'd started weeks ago. Now the fight was over. Now Leah had chosen her name. It was time to make it official. A soft creak broke the silence. Leah padded into the room, rubbing her eyes. Can't sleep. She shook her head and curled beside me. What's that? I turned the screen toward her. Her eyes widened. Really? You want to adopt me? Only if you want it, I said softly. But yes, I want to make it official in every way. She threw her arms around me. When can we do it? We'll talk to Christopher tomorrow, start the process. Good, she murmured, already drifting off. Because I've known since I was little. You're my mom. The universe got it right the first time. I held her close, remembering that stormy night, the courtroom battles, the laughter and tears. Family isn't always born. It's made. It's fought for. It's chosen. Over and over again. And we had chosen each other through every storm, every fear, every victory.